The Mark, a story summary, written by Edyth Bulbring, South African flavour, dystopian universe, young adult fiction, a thoroughly enjoyable read. And I will be going over firstly the character and relationship map. So please, spoiler alert, lots and lots of spoilers. I am assuming that people have either read the book or they want a good understanding of how the book works before they read it. However, if you don't like things spoiled for you, then yeah, rather go watch something else. Due to COVID-19, we have to find new and interesting ways in order to reach our students and teach them and explain to them, because no matter how much you find on the internet, nothing really beats a proper explanation. This is aiming to be a short video. I'm just going over the characters and the little symbols that I use to represent them. The next video will be the actual story itself. Okay, so first things first, we have Etty and Kitty. Etty represented by the number written on her spine, Kitty represented by a flame when she saved Etty as young girls from a fire and she was scarred on her arm. We then have the Mangerian family that Etty goes and works for. We have Master with a magnifying glass. He is the guardian of science and technology. We have Mistress represented by a flower. She is guardian of culture and heritage. And they have a sickly daughter, Larissa, represented by a cough and a bird. The bird will come into the story later. We then have another guardian, Bartholomew, peace and justice. He's the one responsible for enforcing the rules and the laws in this world. His son is Nicholas, represented by a headset. He is a locust, in other words, he is the police force, and he is supposed to be fate mates with Larissa. Obviously, in a dystopian world where you have a vast divide between the rich and the poor, the people in control, the people who do all the work, keeping the power within the families is quite important. So obviously science and technology, married to peace and justice, excuse the pun, keeps a lot of the power where the people want it. The president is actually the mother of Mistress, and she is the one who is right at the top of the food chain. You get the Mangerians, you get the posh, you get the traders, you then get the rejects. So of the Mangerians, you get guardians, which are like the ministers in parliament, and the president is the head of all of that. We then have Reader, fairly minor character, but he plays an important role in Etty's life. He teaches her to read. Now that might not seem like a big deal to you, but please keep in mind that in the Mark, nobody is taught to read and write except the posh. Obviously, if you are going to have masses of people serving you, you don't really want them figuring out what you're doing to them, and so you keep them in the dark, literally. We then have Madame Miriam and the orphan warden. They are sisters. Madame Miriam works for Master and Mistress. She has been looking after Mistress since she was very young, so she's quite loyal to the family, willing to do anything to keep the together and running smoothly, including of getting rid of obstacles that could stand in the way of that happiness. She's represented with pointy ears and angry eyes and sharp and pointy teeth, not because she's a vampire, but because Etty describes her as an orc. So if you've ever watched Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, you'll know that orcs are not the prettiest creatures. The son of the orphan warden, and she is the one responsible for looking after orphans in Section O, which of course Etty and Kitty are a part of, but the orphan warden's son is Handler Xavier. Handler Xavier is noted for his whistling. That's how Etty always knows that he is around. And what happens is he runs a con of various types, and Etty and Kitty work for him. And he also comes in to the story quite a few times. He's also quite a fairly important character. We then have witch, represented by 7 fingers on each hand. That's what makes her stand out. She has a hardy doll which she blinded so that it would be able to speak and tell future. We have Boy, he's the fence. So obviously you steal something, give it to somebody else to sell, and then the money comes back to you. Nelson is Necromunda. He is a sea scavenger, a sea scavvy, and he's got quite an important part in the movement, but not so much in the story, but you do need to know him. We then have me, who runs a beauty parlor, because obviously the posh want to continue looking the way they do, and they have various treatments and packages and body alterations, and he's in charge of that. You will notice that there's a part in orange. There is a connection between those in the movement. These are the people who are trying to overthrow the Mangerian rule. They've noticed that things are not really what they seem. Some own agendas and selfish motives, but they want to overthrow everything. For the most part, that's pretty much it. Don't want to go into too much detail. I will be going over the story, and then in a separate video, a third video, I will then use the book's content to go over a literature essay, how to write one, how to reference, etc. Thank you very much.